is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Limited Resources. This episode number 416. My name is Marshall. I'm one of your Limited Resources, and joining me from 6 miles away, 10 miles away, maybe even closer, we got a special guest host this week. Luis was a little bit under the weather and had some things to take care of, so I'm bringing in Kenji, New Matanami Egashira. Kenji, welcome back to LR. We haven't had you on in a little while.
Yeah, good to be back. Good to, be 6 miles, 10 miles away from you in dreary Seattle right now.
What, you're in sunny Bellevue or something? Is that?
Well, no, it's also dreary here. But, I just wanted to stick it to you.
It's great to have you back on, Kenji. I think you're the person who's been on the show the most ever as a guest. I think so. I mean, I haven't actually checked, but I can't imagine there's anybody else. You're my guy. I've known you forever. And I love having you on the show. This week, we're going to get a chance to do two things. One, we're going to talk Iconic Masters because I've been playing the living heck out of this set on Magic Online, and I know you have too. So we're going to get a chance to, we talked about it last week with Luis. We did a primer where we kind of went through the color pairs, talked about some of the important cards. But now we've actually got our hands on the set, and I've got, my initial impressions, and I know we're going to be eager to get yours. And then also, I took questions from our patrons, on the Patreon, and specifically for you. So we're going to get a chance to dive into some Kenji-related questions, do a little interview with Kenji, and then we'll be calling it a show. So before we get into all that, our sponsor, channelfireball.com. Today, if you're listening to the show today, the day it goes up, that's Friday, November 24th. That's right, Black Friday, as we call it here. You're going to get 11% off everything at Channel Fireball. Everything is 11% off today. So huge sale. Awesome. I mean, they told this to me a couple of days ago. I'm like, are you serious? They're just like, yes, 11% off the site. I'm like, wow, that's insane. So you get that. And then, of course, they have a whole bunch of other sales leading into the holidays. If you're a little bit late, you can still find all the great stuff that you want at channelfireball.com. You're going to get great service. They're going to ship it out to you quickly. And we certainly stand by them for that. I mentioned the Patreon a minute ago, patreon.com/limited resources. Cool way to support the show. Super straightforward, and you get some neat benefits. One of the biggest ones from my perspective is I get to communicate with you directly. Our most enfranchised listeners, I get to ask you, hey, what do you want to hear from Kenji? And, it's great. I get to just a bunch of questions appear. You guys come up with awesome stuff that I would not have thought of. And, of course, it just helps connect us to you even better. So patreon.com/limited resources. We truly appreciate each and every one of you for helping support the show. We're not going to do a question of the week because I've got about 20 of them for Kenji after. So that means, Kenji, we get to dive right into a crack-a-pack for, that's right, Iconic Masters. Rolf came up to me and said, hey, here's a pack. And I thank you for that. And so let's get into it now. This is at the GP on the weekend. And I figure, Kenji, what we can do is use this pack of Iconic Masters to kind of ease us into our conversation about it. So feel free, if we have stuff we want to talk about as we go through the pack, we're not in a rush to get through it. So first card up, actually a card I've played more than I thought I would. Survival Cache. That's the 2 and a white sorcery. You gain 2 life. And if you have more life than an opponent, you draw a card and it has rebound. So it comes back on your upkeep. You get to do it again.
I found that card to be good too, especially in the white-black life gain deck.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice one. Turn
2 Pridemate, turn 3 cash, and you're just straight cash money, baby.
Yeah. And, one of the things that I've noticed is that there's one of the key cards, right, is Angelica Court, right, which is the 3 and a white enchantment. Whenever you gain 4, if you gain 4 life on your end step, you get a 4/4 angel token with flying. And I've noticed that there's kind of 2 different ways to do it. There's cards that can just gain you 4 life in one shot. Great. Those are perfectly good. And, you often want a bunch of those. But there's not a ton of them. And what that means is that sometimes you have to piece together the 4 life using 2 different cards or effects. And I find that Survival Cache being half of it is a big game, right? For example, if you have Student of Ojutai out.
Oh, that's my favorite.
4 life.
That's right.
I like that one. Another one is Seeker of the Way.
Yep, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, you cast a Survival Cache, you get the trigger, the thing gets lifelink and 3/3, and even if you have to kill it, even if you're just send it in and it just gets gobbled up by some dragon or whatever, you're going to get your 4/4 angel on end step. And there's a bunch of cards like that can kind of 1-2 punch. And then also, the fact that this has rebound triggers any of the prowess creatures. And there's a few that make me think that, there's is it called Dragon Bell Monk?
Oh, yeah. The 2/2. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 2/2 Vigilance. Not a great card, but like anytime you're casting rebound spells, those cards tend to really shine. And Survival Cache is a rebound spell as well.
I don't think I've cast that card once, though.
Which one? The Monk?
The Monk.
I did last night.
Did it feel good?
So I was trying to build blue-white prowess.
Okay.
So the cards you get for this are Elusive Spellfist.
Sure. Okay.
That's pretty good. You get Jesse and Thief.
Mm-hmm. The draw
you
cards.
You get the Monk. Mm-hmm. You get the Monk. You get the Seeker of the Way that we talked about before. You get Riverwheel Aerialist, which is like whatever. I don't really put that in the same category because it's already pretty big. And then you get Emerge Unscathed, Survival Cache, and what's the blue make it unblockable?
Oh, Distortion Strike.
Distortion Strike. So that's like a pretty nice little common and uncommon package of cards that can actually result in a heck of a lot of damage. But it's finicky. It's a touchy, you need to have everything in the right order. Your creatures have to survive. If your opponent just goes untap, kill that. Like you're looking at a bunch of Distortion Strikes and Emerge Unscathed and it doesn't do as well. But I have found Survival Cache to be pretty good in that situation. But I think what you mentioned is the true home for it, which is that white-black deck.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, next one is Repeal, another card I've played a lot in this set. Blue X, instant, return target non-land permanent with converted mana cost X to its owner's hand. Draw a card.
Yeah, slow but good. Goes infinite with Mnemonic Wall, should you have enough time and mana.
Mm-hmm, totally. That's a thing that I think is, I have already done that. Just the fact that you can get Mnemonic Wall back, or gets it back, is pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
Also, giving blue the ability to interact with just anything is pretty powerful, right? Like, even though it's not just creatures.
Yeah, surprising number of like token creatures or X spell creatures. You can bounce like an Ivy Elemental pretty cheap, Savageborn Hydra for cheap, the Angelica Court Angels, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, totally. And that's really good, right? Bounce a token.
Oh, yeah.
For just 1 mana, draw a card. Butcher's Glee is next. 2 and a black instant. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains a lifelink until end of turn. Regenerate it.
That's one of those cards that doesn't look great, but it's surprisingly powerful.
I agree. It's better than it looks, for sure. It's not great, but it's better than it looks. Also, on any creature, it'll trigger your Angelica Chord, right?
Presumably.
I mean, any reasonable creature, basically. Yeah. And then also, this does go, though, in that same white-black life gain deck, I think. Like, that's a big hit, and also saving a key creature like a Vizkopa Guildmage or something like that from dying is a big game as well.
Agreed.
Search for Tomorrow. 2 and a green sorcery. Search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield, and then shuffle your library, and it has Suspend 2 for a green. Where are you at on Search?
I like it quite a bit. Oftentimes when I am playing green, it's the more rampy deck trying to play those larger creatures, or you're just splashing in general because you're playing like green-blue, splashing for Ven Sentinels or just Heat Rays or whatnot.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And Search for Tomorrow is a good ramp spell.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. This card has really disappointed me. Splatter Thug. It's 2 and a red, 2/2 with first strike, and you can unleash it, so you can put a counter on it when it enters the battlefield, but if you do, it can't block.
Yeah.
I have just found it getting brick walled too much.
I agree. Specifically brick walled. There's too many walls in this format, and a lot of creatures with 4 toughness or greater, and so you need creatures with 4 power or greater if they're on the ground, or just ways to force them through. And so that 3/3 maximum, if you unleash it, is just
Yeah, I just find that, like, look, if my sweet 3-drop gets bricked by your Doorkeeper, think I'm out. And of course, there's ways you can get these cards through. It's not like that's the end of the story, but like Doorkeeper's not even a particularly strong card. Like, think about something like Carven Caryatid, the 2/6 or 2/5 or whatever. Yeah, or the Jungle Barrier. It's like, it just laughs at these things. So, yeah, Splatter Thug to me has been a bit disappointing for what's really a pretty high power level card. This next one also, I found myself not playing super often because there seems to be better options. Star Compass. I didn't even know this was a card, by the way. I don't even know what this is from, but this is the first time I've played with it.
I'm pretty sure it's from Plane Shift originally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is the 2 mana artifact, enters a battlefield tapped, and it's like a reflecting pool. It taps to add a mana of any color that your lands could produce.
It's actually super awkward too if you have too many of the Karoo lands. Yeah, like you end up playing a Karoo land, bouncing one of your only basics, and then your Star Compass all of a sudden doesn't add any mana.
Oh no,
that's happened just very
it's
infrequently.
Only basics?
Yeah, it only based on your basics. I do like the card quite a bit though in like the black red dragons deck, where a lot of your cards are double black or double red.
Oh, good point. Yeah, that's a good fit because the cards I've been favoring are Mind Stone.
Yep.
I just like it better. And then also I've actually been doing I don't remember what it's called, but the one that can become a 2/2.
Yeah, the Guardian Totem. Guardian Totem.
Yeah. And then I think the worst one is Mannequin because it's so fragile.
I agree. The fact that it's a creature does come up a little bit often, though. You can just chump with it or get some random points of damage.
Definitely.
But yeah, being able to target it with spells is...
Yeah, my power ranking is like Mind Stone, Totem, Compass, Mannequin.
I think I agree with that. I think the Star Compass and the Guardian Totem are pretty close, but...
I agree.
Or sorry, Guardian Idol.
And
Guardian Idol, not Totem.
Idol, right. That's what it's called. Everybody at home's like,
cringe.
Yeah. But I agree. And I think that your point was really strong about Star Compass with especially color intensive decks like the black red one, with the whatever the uncommon legendary
Blade
dragon
Wing.
is called. Yeah, that's a hard card to cast. It's expensive and mana intensive. So, I'd rather have a Star Compass in that deck than the Idol, for example. Yeah. Next one is Einok Bonkin. That's the 1 and a white 2/1 with Outlast for 1 and a white. And each creature you control, it's a +1/+1 counter on it, gets first strike.
There's a lot of random creatures with 1/1 counters on them, and so these +1/+1 Outlast creatures like the Bonkin, the Merrick Nightblade, the one that gives Death Touch, the Abzan Battle Priest, Lifelinker, those are all a lot better than you might initially give credit for.
Yeah, I agree. And I found these to be right in the middle. Like, Einok Bonkin for me is like not great. It's not a card that you need to prioritize or run out of your way to get, but it certainly isn't bad. When they play it against me, I always think, okay, there's an Einok Bonkin. Like, that could matter later, but it's also fairly fragile. It's also very slow, right? It's a slow process to get it to where you want it to go, given that the format can be fast if people want it to be. But at the same time, it can actually become a problem in the late game. Right now, I would say I'm a little bit down on it. Like, the slowness really does matter to me, so that's a thing, but it's a fine, common or whatever.
Yeah, you have to invest 4 mana in multiple turns, basically, before it even has a hope of being relevant.
Yeah, you really want to have it set up with those other cards with counters, like you said.
Yep.
And there's a bunch that are made out of counters, like the Ivy Elemental and the, is it called Hero's Bane?
Oh, the Hydra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that thing's just made out of counters, and the Ivy Elemental is too. But to be honest, neither of those cards have impressed me particularly. Even the Hero's Bane, which has moved from a rare to an uncommon, I'm always like, yeah, whatever. Like Fogbank or whatever. It doesn't have trample,
No,
so even if it's a 20/20, it's like I can just block it.
Like if you have the Abzan Battle Priest, you end up gaining a ton of life and putting it out of range.
Oh, that's true.
Or if you have
Falconer?
The Falconer gives it flying.
Yeah, I like that.
And then Crown Ceratok. Crown Ceratok gives all creatures with a +1/+1 counter on a trample, and that's also in green. So if you go like turn 4 Crown Ceratok, turn 5 Hero's Bane, just double it up the next turn, you're already attacking with an 8/8 trample.
That's true. Yeah. That's a nice sequence because that does Fogbank doesn't work against that. White of Precinct 6 is next. That's the 1 and a black 1/1, and it gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your opponent's graveyard.
Very unimpressed.
You a fan of the white?
No, there's only one deck that I'd really wanted in, and that's the blue-black mill deck. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And even then, it's like a whatever pickup, right?
Right, exactly. Well, and then if you're playing like this card in your blue-black mill deck, you're attacking them from both angles, and so your opponent's kind of like starting at 40 life anyways.
Yeah, because what you really want are blockers.
Right.
Right? Like, and this can block. I mean, it's not that it can't, but like it takes a while to become a good blocker, and by that time you've probably already done your thing. Mm-hmm. Next is, there it is, Mind Stone.
Heyo.
Number 1 on the 2 mana common mana rock, whatever. Anyway, taps for colorless, and you can pay 1 and tap it, sack it to draw a card. I like it. It's fine.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever
What would you take at this point, by the way? Like, man, this pack has been not great, right? Like, what are you taking? Search for Tomorrow? Repeal? Mind Stone?
I'm probably just jamming the Mind Stone. I think ramp is great in this format. You don't this is not a format where you need to have a creature on turn 2, otherwise you just fall too far behind and lose. You can have time to set up, and so I think mine sounds fine.
Okay. Here's a nice this is our last common. It's Draconic Roar. Mm-hmm. This is a good one. Yeah, 1 in red instant. It does 3 damage to a creature. And if you reveal a dragon when you cast it from your hand, or if you control a dragon, it also does 3 to that creature's controller.
Just very solid removal. I love that card. Although a lot of the times people, they don't realize you don't have to reveal a dragon from your hand. They just have a dragon sitting on the battlefield, but then they reveal one anyways in their hand. I'm like, oh, you have the Bladewing, the Risen coming up. Well, that's good to know about.
Good to know. Yeah, I've had people do that against me too. Just random card appears in the... I'm like, what is... Oh, I see what happened there. Yeah, but Draconic Roar is good. Would you take it over Mindstone?
Absolutely.
Okay, that's our front runner from the commons, but we just hit the uncommons. First one, Vizkopa Guildmage. We mentioned this one earlier. Yeah, black-white for a 2/2 human wizard, and it has 2 different activated abilities. They both cost the same, 1 black, white. And then the first one is you can give target creature lifelink until end of turn, and the other one is whenever you gain life this turn, each opponent loses that much life. Ooh,
this card's just a great win con. You don't even need to play it specifically in the life gain deck. And the best part about it is if you have enough mana to sink in, the second ability stacks. So you can give a creature lifelink, activate the second ability, say 2 or 3 times, and that ability's going to stack. Yeah, if you hit them for 3 damage of lifelink and you've used the ability twice, then they're going to lose 6 life.
Oh, that's awesome.
Nice.
I like this card. Yeah. And it's interesting because we mentioned this in the set primer, but it basically is another way to get that Sanguine Bond effect, right? There's 2, ways to do it. And this one sort of gives you that. But like you said, you can even stack them up if you end up getting a ton of mana. And, we were talking earlier about Butcher's Glee, right? +3/+0 and lifelink until end of turn. And so, if you can say activate the Guildmage and then, attack with your biggest creature, let's say it's 4 power, that's a huge swing. And God forbid if you can do it twice. We're talking 14 damage there, even if they block it.
A lot of times it just makes chump attacking with your irrelevant creatures still beneficial.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah. And you're gaining the life, so it makes it unlikely that you die to the crackback. So would you take it over Draconic?
I don't think so. I don't like taking the 2 color cards right off the bat. This one is powerful for sure, but I would still just take the Roar.
Coward, I see. Bubbling Cauldron. Bubbling Cauldron. 2 mana. By the way, I just ignore all of these. The Festering Newt, the Bubbling Cauldron. I just don't care about any of this stuff. Now, well, and what I mean is the Witch, the Newt, and then is it the other part, or is there another one I'm forgetting? An Eyeball? Anyway, this is 2 mana for an artifact, 1 tap, sack a creature, you gain 4 life. What does that make you think of? And then 1 tap, sack a creature named Festering Newt. Each opponent loses 4 life, and you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So you're a fan of the Bubbling Cauldron, is that correct?
I do. Yeah, I do like that card quite a bit in the life gain deck. Just
definitely.
Yes, and that's the only place I play it, the life gain deck, the black-white life gain deck. Every other place, it's quite poor. The nice thing is, even though it's uncommon, so you're not super likely to see it, the only deck that wants it is the life gain deck, and so you can probably let it wheel, and if it doesn't, well, that tells you something. Maybe you shouldn't be in that color anyway.
So, 2 questions then. 1, do you have to play Festering Newt in your deck to make this okay?
No.
You're fine with just the ability to sack any creature and gain the 4 life.
As long as you have the other necessary components, that those being, like you mentioned, Sanguine Bond. There's also the Angelic Accord. A few other payoff cards, but not on the same level as the Accord or the Bond.
Okay. What about the Bogbrew Witch? What is she? She can search this thing up. Is that right?
Yeah, she can search up the Newt or the Cauldron. Both would enter. Both enter tapped though when you use her ability.
Ugh. So you're not going to prioritize her even if you already have a Bubbling Cauldron, or is that wrong?
If I have a Cauldron already and I know I'm going to be the deck, I'll probably take the Witch. But I don't think the Newt or the Witch are necessary. But I think the Cauldron is leagues better than both of those other 2.
Okay, good. That's what I was thinking. Other question. So now, would you take the Vizkopa Guildmage and just try to wheel the Bubbling Cauldron?
That's a good question.
This is a game changer.
Yeah, I think that is a really good plan, in all honesty. Because I think the Guildmage is, more powerful standalone than the Roar, the Draconic Roar anyways. And the fact that now you have a Cauldron that you can wheel really kind of puts it over the top.
I like it. I'm on the Guild Mage plan now.
Nice.
Just saying. Next card. Have not played it. Do not plan on it. Trepanation Blade.
That's the mill card from,
the mill attack card or whatever. So it's 3 mana equipment, costs 2 to equip. Whenever the creature attacks, the defending player reveals cards from the top of his or her library until he or she reveals a land card. That creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn for each creature, for each card revealed this way, and then those cards get milled away. They go in the graveyard. I don't like I get it that like this can be an additional form of repeated mill. That's cool. That part makes sense to me. And I get it. I just I don't love the idea of needing to like throw my creatures in, to do it.
I don't like the card that much either, but it's surprising how much work it can do. But even though like it's so variable, right? You're often going to hit a land in the first few cards, so your creature's not going to get that big of a boost. Sometimes you hit a run of like 3 or 4 spells first before the land, and then you're like, yeah, got him. But it's so slow. I don't like it.
Yeah, and but what deck is running this?
I would
are you running it to try to make your creature bigger or to try to mill them out?
Oh no, definitely to mill them out, because if you get a few attacks in it, it's going to at least mill them. Well, for the number of attacks at the very least, but sometimes for more.
Yeah, and on average for more too.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got 1 foil, and by the way, of course, these are going in the giveaway that'll be coming up in a future episode. It's a cool one. It's Boros Garrison. So we have one of those, you called it a Karoo. Mm-hmm. Some people call them bounce lands. This is the red-white one. Enters the battlefield, tapped land. And when it enters the battlefield, you have to return a land you control to your hand, but it taps for both red and white when you tap it for mana.
Yeah, I think these lands are very high picks. I don't take them as highly as I say you should, just because I am a fish when it comes to Magic, but I do think that these cards are very high picks. I could see taking this over any of the other cards currently.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. So it's funny because I'm the same mentality. I come in thinking, okay, the bounce lands are premium. But you know what I've been doing? I haven't been playing as many or taking them as highly as I do in other formats that have them. And I haven't figured out why. The mana's a little awkward. I have not been playing a 5-color deck.
No.
I've been playing sometimes a 3, or even I'll splash for a 4 if I'm doing the green-based, Search for Tomorrow stuff. Mm-hmm. But I don't, some of the older Masters sets, I've just been like, I'm 5 colors, right? Like it's just, I knew I was going to be 5 colors. I'd take any bounce land that I saw. I'd take any ramp that I saw, and that was it. But I found that the ramp decks in this set they function just fine within a narrower color range. Like I don't need to do those things to have a good game plan to play, like, for example, the Walls ramp deck, which is one I've really liked. And so I kind of have deprioritized these, like maybe just one notch down, where like, for example, in this pack, I wouldn't consider taking the Boros Garrison, where I think if you would have told me after having just looked at the spoiler that I would have, but I'm like, yeah, I like Draconic Roar, the Guild Mage. We've got a rare here. I don't know. I maybe I'm falling for that trap of not properly, valuing these things highly enough. But I've just found that like I've even leave them in the board sometimes.
Yeah.
Like if they're only in one of my colors, I'm like, I really want my mana. I don't want to mess around with this thing.
I think when they're in at least one of your colors, they're always something you want to play. But and this is something I'm sure we'll touch upon later in this Master set, specifically. The 5-color good decks, the 4-color good decks aren't really a thing as much as they were in the previous versions.
Exactly. And that's something that stood out to me. So anyway, there's that. And then our rare is Emeria Angel. That's 2 white for a 3/3 flying angel, and it has landfall. You get a 1/1 flying bird.
Yep. Too good to pass. Slam it.
Yeah. Card's great. I love that card. I've always loved that card.
It's from,
and I would totally take it too.
Zendikar or World Wake?
Zendikar, is what I wanted to tell you.
Yeah, one of those anyways. It's a great one.
I have to look now because it's bothering me.
The nice thing is
it's from Zendikar.
Yeah, 4 mana 3/3 flyer and limited is fine. I mean, you have Phantom Monster in the format already, but oh baby, with landfall. And we were talking about the bounce lands, the Karoo lands already. That's just extra way to generate land drops. Evolving Wilds is in the format, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's no Jotty offshoot, but it's A Mirror Angel. Yeah, I would take it here too. I think the card's just too good. Okay, so let's talk Iconic Master. So first things first, what decks, we'll start with you. What decks have you gravitated towards and found the most success with? What decks do you not want to see on the other side of the table? That kind of thing. Where are you at with it?
When I first started drafting the format, I always just went towards the black-white life gain deck. And there were a few reasons for that. I'd open Obnixilis, which I didn't realize was in the set until I opened it, of course. I would open Blood Baron of Vizkopa, which is now a rare instead of a mythic. So these things that, kind of pulled me toward that general direction anyways. And because the set was so fresh, people didn't really know what they were doing. I didn't know what I was doing, right? And so I would get super late Angelic Chords, which, this is the only deck that would want it anyways. And then you would get super late at Johnny's Pride Mates, even though they're uncommon. You start getting all the Student of Ojutais and just take, random non-creature spells to start triggering them, and it just came together really nicely. So I think the black-white life gain deck was my go-to when the set first came out.
Okay.
I did a 24-hour stream, though, the other day, and I drafted nothing but Iconic Masters. And so now I have quite a few more drafts.
Yeah, 24 hours. We're going to talk about the 24-hour stream thing in our questions. That's a question from me. Anyway, carry on.
As I was saying, as I progressed through the 24-hour stream, I was trying a lot of the other go-to archetypes. I was talking about that black-red dragons deck, and oh my gosh, I had a sweet one. So, Martian, what do you think about the card Dragon Tempest? It's the red and 1 enchantment. Whenever you play a creature with flying, it gains haste until end of turn. Mm-hmm. Whenever you play a dragon, deal damage to a creature player equal to the number of dragons you control.
I've read that card like 3 or 4 times every single time I'm doing a draft and it's in there, and I always end up passing it because I'm just like, I never have enough dragons to make the second thing feel great. And the first thing feels like fine to me, so I'm kind of down on it. I don't know. I've never lost to it. I've never had anybody just go off with it, and I just never seem to have the deck. So I think I'm not a huge fan of it.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best cards if you are in the dragons deck, though. Especially if you can get enough dragon eggs. You end up playing one dragon egg, shooting something for 1. Playing the second dragon egg, you can shoot another one of your dragon eggs, hatch the egg, get the 2/2 dragon,
what?
And then shoot something else after that, right? So it's like
for another 2. Oh my god, that's insane.
Yeah, and then so during the 24-hour stream, I had a dragon deck with Dragon Tempest, right? 3.
Now I'm assuming this was black red.
Correct. 3 Bladewing the Risen. Okay. And so if you are unaware, 2 Bladewing the Risen and Dragon Tempest is infinite 1 damage.
What?
Yeah. So okay, as long as
think
about it, yeah,
really?
right? Because so Bladewing the Risen says when it enters the battlefield, return a dragon from your graveyard to the battlefield, right? And since they're legendary, you can only have 1 on the battlefield at a time. The Dragon Tempest continuously procs as they recur each other. And so you get 1 damage infinitely.
Oh, that's insane. Yeah. I did not know that.
Yeah. And so I got to pull that off, and it was so sweet. Even though it's so slow to do, it is just the best feeling.
So once you put this, so you have 1 in play, you have the Dragon Tempest. Once you put the other one on the stack and it resolves and they don't interrupt it, then you just win.
But yes, it doesn't even have to be on the battlefield, right? Because Bladewing returns 1 from the graveyard. So I had 2. I had 2 or 3 Tormenting Voices in my deck, so I could just discard 1 and then play 1, recur the other, and go off from there.
That's awesome. Yeah. Oh my, that is sick. And you did that on stream?
I did that on stream. That was so good.
That's great.
I think, wow. So I think the black-red dragon deck has been my go-to, just because I want to emulate what I did there, but you don't always get it because Bladewing's uncommon, and people know that it's pretty good, so they end up taking it anyways. Another deck that I've been drafting is the Walls deck, which generally is blue, green, or red, or a combination of all 3. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I've done it multiple ways. You can go off with Doorkeepers, which you were talking about earlier, is the 0/4 that can mill based on the number of defenders. And then there's also Vent Sentinel, which is the one that pings. Actually, that was one of your favorite decks in that format, wasn't it? The Vent Sentinel deck?
Oh, God, yes. Back in Rise of the Eldrazi.
Yeah.
That was like my first deck that I really kind of figured out for myself that was non-conventional and that I loved. I was just like, in Vent Sentinel, you were either in that deck or you weren't in Rise. And so people were For the most part, people didn't take them. They just, you didn't want them. And I was like second picking them. And I remember thinking like, this is insane because it was so against the way that I drafted at the time, which was a lot more straightforwardly. And, I still, by the way, I still love it. Like I still play that card in this set. So yeah.
And we were talking about it, but the defenders, a lot of them have 4 toughness too, which is brick wall so many of the creatures. And so not only are they great on offense, but they're great on defense because you can block a creature and then at the end of your opponent's turn, you shoot them or mill them, and it's just a double, not a double-edged sword, but a 2-pronged attack, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, it is. And it's and that's not the only one, right? There's 2/4, 2/5, 2/6. Yep. 05 and 04. Like these are all cards that you'll see pretty often on the battlefield. Again, Splatterthug, I'm sorry, bro, but you're not getting through.
Yeah, good in its format of, going aggro and unleashing all your creatures with your Rakdos Cacklers into your Gorehouse Chainwalkers, but not in this set.
Yeah, and I loved Splatterthug in whatever it was.
Yeah, Return to Ravnica, I think.
Return to Ravnica, yeah.
That was real nice. Another deck I've been having some good success with is the red-white aggro deck. You just get a lot of the premium cheap creatures and a lot of the removal spells, Draconic Roar, Pillar of Flame, although I don't think Pillar of Flame is actually that good in this format at all. As we were talking, a lot of the creatures are just too big, although sometimes you need to combo it off to exile something, but red-white aggro has been super good for me.
Borderland Marauders and such, or
I'd prefer not to draft the Borderland Marauders at the 2-drop slot. I'd rather have even the Bondkins or Pridemates, just with the random life gain that you can get in white.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Dragon, or I guess it's Furnace Whelp, which is odd because you would think Dragon Whelp is more iconic than Furnace Whelp, but Furnace Whelp is in this format.
Yeah, I listened to Loading Ready Run's podcast. Tap Concede about where they did like this sort of funny set review where they just went through and just decided if each card was iconic or not. And they determined at the end, I think correctly, that the iconic part was not really a focus. Like, there's some major questions like there's no lightning bolt in the iconic set, like, come on, right? Like that's probably the most iconic Magic card, period. It's on the shortest list or whatever. Anyway.
I mean, you get cards like, oh my God, Lightning Helix, lightning, so you got Lightning Helix.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, Lightning Helix, oh my God. Yeah, you get that.
Somewhat iconic.
That's something. That's true. I like that. And, I do appreciate some of the old school cards that are in there, like the Mahamoti Jin. Yep. What is it, Earth Elemental or whatever?
Yeah, the 4/5 for 5 instead of the 5/4.
What is that? That's like a bit of a stretch to go.
Dude, have you seen the original art for that card? It's like a big rock dude, and he's like, rah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I totally have. I actually like that one quite a bit. But anyway, go on.
Let's see. So we just touched upon red-white. I haven't had too much success with the mill decks, although I guess I haven't really tried to do the dedicated archetype. I know like the Balustrade Spies and the Jace's Phantasms do a lot of work in those decks if you can get the correct mill. But it seems like in odds you need to get the good sequence of cards off. Otherwise, your Jace's Phantasms are just 1/1 flyers for 1, which are annoying. And in a prolonged game, eventually they'll turn big. But I don't feel like that deck it really works unless you get a lot of the important commons and uncommons.
I agree. Or if you get lucky and open up a Glimpse the Unthinkable.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's just like you fire that card off and it just turns on everything else in your deck.
Yes.
Like all of your cards, like your Jace's Phantasms are now 5/5s. Immediately they're just huge. Your White of Precinct 6s are big and like you're kind of going off. And of course your Mnemonic Wall then becomes like a premium card at that point. Because you can just buy it back.
That's a third of your deck already, by the time they cast it. You've already drawn 7, 8, 9 cards, minimum.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It's interesting because I agree. I think that you have to be willing to commit super hard. And if you do, it does reward you. Woody and I drafted one online a few nights ago, and we were just like fully all in on the mill plan, and it worked great. I mean, the deck, mowed through the library very quickly and even was able to beat some very strong draws from the opponent. But you really need to get lucky and get all those pieces, and the timing on how they come out and stuff can be very awkward. Yeah.
What else have I done? I think I tried the counters deck. I had a green-black counters with double Corpse Jack Menace, which is the 4/4 for 4 that doubles all +1/+1 counters that would enter for you. And I think I had 6 Phantom Tigers. I sideboarded 2 of them, but I had 4 in the main. That deck was okay. You really needed the Crown Ceratox. I think I had 2 or 3, and giving all your creatures trample is real nice, especially when you go like turn 4 Corpse Jack Menace, turn 5 8/8 Ivy Elemental.
Okay, that's insane.
Yeah. But otherwise, I don't.
But like you said, you really do need to be able to make them
right trample
or some type of evasion.
Yeah. Otherwise, I mean, sure, they can't chump for very long, but it's so much more potent when you can.
Yeah, I found that deck to be a bit underwhelming.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
What else? Let's see. I don't think I've drafted actually too many other decks. I think I've stayed to a core like 4 or 5 decks overall. I'm not sure. How about you? Have you seen any other great archetypes in this format? Because I don't think just the good cards work all that well.
Yeah. So what I've been doing is I've been actually experimenting with unconventional pairings to see if I can make something work with that, because I had a somewhat similar track to you, though instead of starting off with the black-white life gain deck, I started off with the walls deck. It's just what I want to do anyway. And I think I, first picked the jungle barrier and then like a overgrown battlement or something. And I just went to town, and I've played that deck a lot and I've had the most success with it. I agree with something you said earlier during the Crack-a-Pack, which is that you like the ramp, just ramping out big stuff. And that's what I did too. I mean, my first draft I did, in fact, I posted it on CFB. It had Channel and Genesis Wave in it. Just for the full nonsense, right? And so I like that kind of stuff where you can use these. There's so many 2 mana ramp artifacts. We talked about the power rankings or whatever on 4 of those, and then there's even more. Like not at 2 mana, but there's even more artifacts that make mana. There's the Pristine Talisman, the Thran Dynamos in the set, Serum Powder, like. There is, and Palladium Mirror, lest I forget our little buddy, the Shea Stadium Palladium Mirror. These are, that's a lot, even a Kolagon Monuments in this set, right? So you can really power out a ton of mana if you want. And as it turns out, I want. Yes, I do. There's a lot of X spells. There's a lot of good payoffs. Genesis Hydra, Genesis Wave, I mentioned those. And there's just a ton of ways that I find, and this is the key for these type of decks for me, is that there's ways to big payoffs, but also ways to generate card advantage in between. Just little things like Nantuko Shaman, right? Just an Nantuko Shaman, a Carven Caryatid, right? Just getting down a card that can help keep you alive while and develop your board, but while also keeping the cards flowing for you is such a big deal for these ramp decks. Because how many times have you had the perfect ramp curve and then had like maybe one threat and it got countered or just didn't have the right threat, and then you're just sitting there staring at the top of your library like, please, one time.
Yeah, you end up with a 12/12 Ivy Elemental, they claustrophobia it, and you have a bunch of 2/5 defenders.
Right. And it's like you need some way to leverage all of that mana that you've put in. And, so I'll often play cards like Amass the Components.
That card's great.
Yeah, I think that card's really good, and it's a type of card that I really want to see. Mnemonic Wall we mentioned, right? It's not the best card ever, but it's a way to get advantage going. Or Repeal even, just cards like that can help you start to recoup some of that loss that you get from dumping it in. And then, I've also been drafting like Assault Formation as well with these decks.
That card is so good, surprisingly.
It's so good.
I mean, maybe not even surprisingly, but it's just so good.
Yeah, I was a little surprised. I remember it being like kind of a cute, mediocre build around before, when it was in Dragons of Tarkir, where it was a rare, by the way. And now it's an uncommon. And man, the card is very good. And they did not skimp on these walls. I mean, I mentioned them before, and I keep saying it, but, Carven Caryatid, that's a 2/5 for 3 mana. Overgrown Battlement, 0/4 for 2 mana. And remember, the what's it called? The Assault Formation says your creatures assign damage equal to their combat damage equal to their toughness rather than their power. And then you can pay a green to let a creature with Defender attack until end of turn. So the Caryatid becomes a 5-powered attacker with the Assault Formation and a green mana. It's like, what? And, and there's cards like Overgrown Battlement, all of a sudden a 4-power, basically a 4/4. Wall of Roots. Yep. It's a card I love. And that thing just hits for 5. So, and then I mentioned the Jungle Barrier also. And then you have this great game plan because since you're in green, you can splash for Vent Sentinel easily. And, you just get one or two of those going and the game ends in short order. So I really was attracted to that at first. I've been drafting blue-red spells. That deck has a lot going on, definitely has the pieces to win games and get the job done. It's tricky to play. It's really kind of a finicky deck that's a little bit weird, but the power level's there. You can keep your hand full and still be getting them. You do need payoffs. That's the really hard part about it, is that like there's only so many gutter snipes to go around. And if you get them, you're in good shape. You really are. I think the deck is a big performer. With that, Elusive Spellfist is another one you can use to get in for a lot of damage. Those type of cards. But anyway, now I'm already over it. I'm already over all the basic 2-color combos, and I'm trying weird stuff. So I mentioned it a bit ago, but I tried drafting blue-white tempo. That was a little too touchy, I think, to be great. But I had like the sweetest deck yesterday, Kenji. I had blue-red walls.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it was
so
awesome.
I imagine Dragon Egg was an MVP in that deck.
Yes, totally. Dragon Egg, multiple Vent Sentinels, multiple Fog Banks.
Ooh.
I had a Mnemonic Wall as well. I actually was thinking that it would be a Doorkeeper deck, but I never got it. Like somehow, like went the whole draft with no Doorkeeper, so instead I went for the Vent Sentinels. And then, I had just a ton of ways. I had a Fireball, like a ways to just be like, okay, you're dead. Just finish you off. You're dead from here. So that was a deck that I honestly was a little skeptical about until like I put it together. And then I'm just like, this deck is just insane. Like counter spells plus walls is very good. Like they're like, well, they can't attack you. You've got 3 Vent Sentinels down. Their ground game is just completely stopped. And then you can be really picky about what you want to use counter spells on, for example. So that was sweet. That's the one that I like, that might be the one that I want to try to relive. For the rest of my days or whatever. Yeah, like I think I got lucky. I mean, I had like 2 Fog Banks. Those are uncommons and they're quite strong in a deck like that. And my finisher card I've never played until this set, and now I'm just like, this card is the most stupid nonsense ever. Day of the Dragons.
Oh my god, that card is so good.
What the hell? Like, how did they print this card?
Dude, I saw Brian David Marshall posted a pic on Twitter about his wall Day of the Dragon deck, and that card is just bonkers. So so for people that don't know, it's 3 blue, 4. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. 7.
Yeah, 7 mana, and it exiles all creatures you control when it enters the battlefield. Replace them with 5/5 flying dragons, and then if the enchantment dies, you get all of the other creatures back. Right?
You get them all back. You do.
So good.
So, like, I had one situation. Now, this wasn't in the deck that I just mentioned. This was a different Day of the Dragons, but it was also a Walls deck. So, my board is random, I think a Wall of Roots or something. Jungle Barrier, Carven Caryatid, and Mnemonic Wall. Oh, no. And I go Day of the Dragons, and my opponent goes like, okay, and I get like 4 dragons or whatever. So they're like, repeal one of them. I'm like, all right. And then they're like, what's it called? Claustrophobia? Is that the card I'm thinking of? Tap the other one down. So I have 2 left, but they also had a Mahamoti Djinn. And I'm like, well, I actually can't attack you now. They were at 12 or something like that. So I'm like, So I repeal my Day of the Dragons. So I draw a card off the Caryatid. I draw a card off the Jungle Barrier. I get repeal back with the what's it called? The Mnemonic Wall. And I reset my Wall of Roots. And then the next turn I'm like, Day of the Dragons? And they're like, sure. And I think I even managed to get one extra creature down or whatever. Oh no, I know what it was. I activated that idol.
Oh, the Guardian
You
Idol.
can pay the mana for itself, and then it only costs 1 extra. And then so that turned into a dragon as well. That was pretty good. Like, this set's sweet. I was like, this is kind of great. Yeah. So anyway, great set. Honestly, like, I'm not sure, like, I'm having a hard time gauging it because coming off of Ixalan, which has been, one of the least good sets in recent memory.
Right.
I still find it okay. Like, it's hard for me to gauge these things because I still drafted it a lot, and it's still Magic, and it's still draft, and it still like keeps my attention. But, you do more drafts than anybody I know. When you get to draft 90, Ixalan started to fall flat, right? Like, it just didn't have that excitement to it, or that, I don't know. At least that did for me. Did you feel that too?
It was a little bit of the opposite for me, since I started off so poorly in the format, then started doing better. But then,
right.
But then there was a dramatic drop off. Like, it did not take very long for me to be like, okay, I'm doing okay at this format now, but I'm over it.
Yeah, but it's like, I get it. Yeah. I know what these cards are doing, and I understand it. And then I also didn't love some of the fundamental design stuff. So this set, Iconic Masters, is very much like breath of fresh air, as if it were a cube or something like that, where I'm just like, I needed this.
I agree.
I needed to be able to kind of, spread my wings and fly a little bit. And I think this set's actually just good as well. Like, there's nothing yet that I've been like, why did they make this deck? Why is there a aggro deck that you just can't beat in this really sweet format or whatever? If anything, the only thing I've noticed is that the Walls deck pushes out the aggro deck so much that it's like, but I mean, to be honest, and maybe this is being a little selfish, but that's kind of what I want anyway. Like, I want to be able to do mill decks and life gain decks and, build up a bunch of counters decks. And I don't want to die in turn 6 or whatever.
Well, it's also the thing that, Walls and life gain are generally considered poor, right? But it's such a viable strategy or strategies in this format that it's kind of, like you said, a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I'm loving it. All right. So, and look for videos too. You're putting videos up for your stuff, right?
Find them on.
So where can people see them?
NewmontGaming.com or just on my YouTube page, search for Newmont the Nummy.
So there you go. So you can watch Kenji draft, and my videos are up on Channel Fireball right now as well if you want to see some of this nonsense that we've been doing. Okay. So let's get to these questions. I've got a bunch of questions for you, Kenji. All right, here we go. David says, how did you learn to play Magic?
My cousin taught me when I was probably... Oh, no, this is not true. He's about a few years older than me, and he played Magic. And so whenever we'd have family functions or whatever, being the older cousin, I looked up to him, and I'd be seeing him playing with these cards. And at first I just collected, looked at the art, because old school art, man.
You were young,
I was like,
right?
8 or 9. And then I didn't actually start playing until maybe 10 or 11, and then I'd start going to F&Ms basically religiously every Friday.
Did you go to F&M at the shop that we met at, or was that somewhere else?
At the time, it was a place called Bigfoot's in my hometown of Edmonds, but that shop closed down probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, I remember it closed like right when I started
playing.
Probably,
yeah.
And then you came to the shop that
That's
I
right.
played at. Although I think you played there before I did, so it's your shop. Another David says, this is a little vague, perhaps for Iconic Masters, but maybe just in general. What's your favorite archetype?
Okay, so for Iconic Masters, I'm going to say it is probably still the life gain deck, just because, man, when you cast 1 or 2 Student of Ojitize and then start gaining, 4 life, 6 life, just on random survival caches and whatnot. Oh, it just feels nice. And then your opponent, even though they're attacking you for, 20 in one big swing, you're like, yeah, okay, take it. I'm down to 14. sack my creature. You lose 4 lives.
Shrug it off. Yeah.
Something like that. Overall, my favorite archetype. Ooh, man. I'm going to go to...
God, I want to know what this is.
Wow, in all of Magic, that's hard.
It's really hard. I mean, one way to look at it would be like, what's your guild or wedge or shard? Like, are you a Teamer or like a Dimir? Is there one of those that you tend to gravitate towards?
I think I would be known for more Boros or Rakdos, especially the more aggressive strategies. Yeah, but I'm going to have to think about that. I'm not sure if there's like one specific archetype in all of Magic's history, in one of these draft formats that I could think of.
I get it. You don't want to contain yourself. Yeah. Okay. Next comes from Norman, who says, the devil challenges you to a draft for the highest stakes imaginable, your soul. Make it to the finals and beat him, and you will go free. The devil will select the other 6 drafters, probably meant 7 or 5, but you get to pick the format. what do you choose? And bonus question, what do you hope to open Pack One, Pick One?
Well, the joke's on them. I don't have a soul, so I'm already winning.
Whoa! Hello. Free roll.
I would choose Invasion Block Draft.
Oh, going old school.
Invasion Block Draft. What would I want to open? That's a good question. There are a lot of spicy cards from Invasion Block Draft. It would probably just have to be one of the creatures that can turn a land into another land of a different choice. Because in Invasion Block, there's not much good fixing. And surprisingly, a lot of the creatures that can turn lands into other basic lands can not only help you fix your mana, but it also messes up your opponent because you can activate it on their upkeep and then they can't cast. Maybe they're red, white, and green, really? And then you turn their forest into a swamp, and they're just like, crap, I can't cast anything now.
You would really mess around with other people?
Oh, that's one of the best things to do in the format.
And wait, but you want to open that over a bomb? Like there isn't some... What the...
I mean, there aren't that many bombs in these older formats like that.
Maybe that's why you like that format.
Yeah, that could be it. So Dream Thrush. I'm gonna first pick a Dream Thrush, which is a 1/1 flyer that you can tap and make a land something else.
Okay, I love it. That's great. Victor says, what do you think of the Bog Brew Witch combo? I 3-0'd with her as a side strategy, 4 Newts, 1 Witch, 1 Cauldron, in an otherwise red-black Dragons deck. I was super impressed by the Witch, but I want your opinion. Yeah,
so we were talking about this earlier. I think the Cauldron is better, but if you're not going the specific life gain combo, then the Witch is definitely way up there because the Newts are common, and so you generally can get those pretty late as people, they're not great on their own. But the Witch and the Cauldron being uncommon, if you can pick those up early enough, get the combo going, I mean, that's really potent because the Cauldron says, or the Newt rather says, if you've sacrificed this and have a Bog Brew Witch on the battlefield, you're giving a creature -4/-4, and you're draining for 4 life. So
yeah, you're killing some. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah. So I think the Witch and the Cauldron and the Newt are all very powerful together. Of course, the nice thing is you do get them late, but generally speaking, I think the Cauldron by itself is probably the best of those 3 cards.
Okay. Our friend Adrian St. John says, what kind of expectations did you have when you started Stream a Day for a whole year? And maybe you could tell people that weren't, and that was actually a little while ago.
Yeah, that was probably 6 years now, 7, something like that.
Yeah, 5 years ago, something. Yeah, it was a while back. So yeah, so you kind of kicked off, a big part of your streaming career by pledging to stream every single day for a whole year, and you actually did it.
Yeah. So I hadn't been streaming too frequently before I did it. What this thing was I decided to stream every single day consecutively for an entire year. And this was, the start of my streaming career. I was actually still working at QFC at a grocery store, stocking at night. So,
oh yeah,
so I would go to work at 11 p.m. at night, come home at 7:30, fall asleep, wake up at like 1 or 2 p.m., stream until work, and then just do the whole process over again. What made me want to do it? I think it was, or at least a lot of it was, I had just recently graduated from college and moved out of my parents' place, and so I felt like I had a lot of freedom, and this was something that I could see progressing into something more of a full-time job because I had watched a lot of streams prior to Twitch.tv. If you guys remember Justin.tv, that was like the precursors to Twitch. So I would watch, not specifically Magic because almost nobody streamed Magic, but I would watch, StarCraft 2 and these type of games. Or I guess it was not even StarCraft 2 at that point. It was just regular StarCraft. And I'd be like, hey, you know what? I'm going to try this for Magic. And that's how it all got started.
So what were your expectations, though?
Sure.
Like, did you think I'll build out this is going to be a career for me? Or just, did you think it would be fun? You didn't have that expectation, did you?
Well, no, that's why I started streaming, to get a lot of input to voice opinions and get people to watch and see what they think. Because I considered myself a decent drafter, and that's almost exclusively what I did, of course. Expectation-wise, when I started the 365, it was something that I wanted to turn into more full-time, but, I played it safe. I didn't actually quit my quote-unquote real job until I was more comfortable and already solidified into the 365. I think I didn't even go full-time streaming until I think November of that year, of the 365 year. So
yeah, so
yeah,
worked out
definitely. Here we are.
Bad. All right, AJ says Ixalan seems to be one of the less fun sets to draft in some time, but as a primarily limited streamer, you're sort of expected to play many drafts of it. How do you keep yourself motivated and keep a positive energy on stream when playing a set isn't as enjoyable?
A lot of times it's not always easy. You know, it's like people want to see the real emotion. So if I don't like a format, then I'm gonna say that I don't like it so much. But a lot of it's just trying new things. Like Marshall was mentioning earlier in the cast, he's branching out. He's not going with the specific archetypes. I'm not drafting, the go-to color pairs. I'm, going to try 5-color nonsense cards. I'm going to try cards that people say are unplayable and see if they work. So I think it's about trying different things, trying new things, even if they're not good or everybody says they're not good.
Okay. David says, I have a strategy question I've been meaning to ask. It turns out that I'm awesome at Magic when I curve out 2, 3, 4 drops and my opponent is stuck on 2 lands, but I'm not as great when I'm at a disadvantage. So how do you play from behind? How do you even recognize when you're behind, and what can you do once you are?
Sure, a lot of it.
Big question, but
yeah. So in the instances where you're like falling behind, you want to play a little bit more aggressively in the sense that if you would play around a combat trick normally, maybe you cannot afford to at this point in time. Like maybe your opponent's played 3 creatures and you only have 1. You have to realize, maybe I can't just beat this card anyway. So if they have it, that's it. And you're gonna have to go with maybe trading, cards that you wouldn't want to, or playing around tricks you wouldn't want to, and just going for it right off the bat. And making sure you don't pigeonhole yourself. I guess don't get frustrated. Because you're falling behind. Magic has a lot of variance, and the best players in the world realize that, right? And they play to their outs. They don't just be like, oh well, I can't win. Better just make this unfavorable block. They realize, okay, well, if I make this move, if I trade this creature off, even though my creature's a little bit better, and then draw a land next turn, maybe I can get out of this hole.
Yeah. I don't know what this is referring to. Kyle says, how did you feel when Marshall kept asking how it felt to lose the championship?
Lose the championship?
I don't know. He says, we love you anyway, Marshall, you jerk.
Did I lose a championship?
I don't know that you lost a championship. Maybe he's talking about our rewind video.
Could be.
I mean, you were playing for top 8 at GP Montreal, maybe?
That could be it. I just realized there were going to be more chances, and even though it stung at the time, that's just part of Magic. I play so much, I lose so much that at this point it's just, okay, get back on the horse, carry on.
I didn't hurt your feelings when I asked you about that, right?
No, not at all.
Okay, good. I don't want to. I want those things to be reflective, but not painful.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That would really suck. I don't think anybody would do them with me if I was too mean. Jonah says, Marshall and Kenji, what are the things you're hoping will be included in Rivals of Ixalan to improve the draft format? Wow, that's a really good question. I mean, because here's the thing, right? One of the things that I don't love about the format is that it's so defined, right? It's tribal, so you already know kind of what you're supposed to be doing. And they didn't really give us much to do outside of those bounds. There's really no rogue decks. There's really not a lot to go for as far as build arounds. Some of the even remotely promising stuff just hasn't panned out. Things like the Explore deck, right? Sure, they didn't support green-black directly, but they gave us a couple of cards that reward Explore. And, you think, okay, well, maybe that'll be a thing. It hasn't really proven to be worth it. Like, even if you get the perfect build, it's like, fine. You'd still rather just have a good, vampires deck or whatever instead. So I'd like to see more of that. I'd like to see them break it open a little bit more. And if they're going to stay with this more narrow, tribal based theme for the whole set, I'd love to see a few incentives to go outside of those bounds. Maybe they don't happen every draft. Like pretty much every draft you draft, somebody's going to be in vampires and somebody's going to be in, red, white or whatever, right? But here I would like to see a little bit more of a, carrot. I'd like to see something to make me go outside of the bounds a little more and actually reward me for doing so.
Yeah, I think I agree with that too. I mean, you do have the treasures, quote unquote treasures deck in Ixalan currently where you can, play a lot of colors because you have cards like Depth of Desire and Prosperous Pirates letting you cast random triple red cards in your blue-white deck or something like that. But overall, it does feel like, we get pushed into merfolk or dinosaurs or pirates, and there's not much room to try new things. In Rivals, what would I want to see to help improve this experience? I guess just different color pairings in general. I don't always want to be like, okay, well, I took this blue card and a green card, and now I guess I'm merfolk. I want to be able to take a blue and a green card and still say, okay, well, maybe I can still play this other pirates deck still, and I'm playing blue and green or something, weird.
Preach. I like that.
Uh-oh.
I don't know if this is a joke or if somebody maybe thinks you're a different Kenji. How has your Magic life changed since you got inducted into the Hall of Fame? Well, how about we make the Pro Tour first and then we'll take that step. We'll just skip that one. Although, remember way back in the day where were you at? I remember you telling me a story like somebody was like, hey, you're Kenji. And you were like, yeah, no, I'm not that Kenji. But then they were like, no, you're the Kenji that was on LR or something.
Oh, yeah. I was with Zame. In San Francisco or something, or San Diego.
Yeah.
It was some Worlds or...
It was San Francisco Worlds.
Was it? Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. So it was...
That's what it was.
Yeah. We were playing in a side draft, and I don't even know if I was streaming at that point. Was I? I don't think so. I've probably been... Oh, okay. Well, I had been on LR maybe once or twice or something. And this guy's like, hey, dude, are you the Kenji? And I'm like, no, man, no. And he's like, no.
Because Kenji Samura, by the way, is who we're referring to. He's a Hall of Famer from Japan.
Yeah, so that did happen, but no ring on the finger,
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, not yet.
Streamer Hall of Fame.
There you go. Oh, definitely. First ballot Hall of Famer for streamers. Jared says, hey, Marshall and Newmont, better Magic here, if you know who Jared is. Just got 30 inches away from the fringe yesterday. Or the fridge, excuse me. Here's a short two-parter. Has your sociology education helped you more efficiently build a community around the Newmont Gaming brand? Do you put research and theory into practice when you think about your business?
Probably subconsciously, but...
That's what you studied in college? That's what Jared's referring to?
Yeah. So in college, I graduated with a degree in anthropology and sociology. I think to some degree, sure, but I don't, go out of my way, or it's not always or ever actually in my mind that I'm going through and putting those applications, to Magic or in anything in general. I think it's probably just subconsciously there, in the back of my brain, maybe influencing some decisions, of course, but I would say no.
How much effort? I'm curious because, this is something that I get asked occasionally as well. It's about this branding and building the brand and that kind of stuff. How much do you think about that? How much are you somebody who sits at home and thinks what is my brand? How do I build it? How do I, reach people or whatever?
It fluctuates wildly. Sometimes I get on these big streaks and I'm like, okay, how do I improve this? How am I going to continue making my YouTube page grow? And how am I going to improve the site and do all this? And then it goes into lulls of, I'm streaming.
Yeah.
People are watching. They know what's going on. I think it's actually my girlfriend who wants me to or pushes me more to grow my brand than I do at this point.
I see. Yeah, she's probably right. I've gotten advice like that as well, but I just never care about that.
It's not that,
and I know it's incorrect.
Yeah, it's not that I don't care. It's just that I've kind of fallen into, I guess, a safe zone, and maybe that is I guess that probably is a problem. Where I'm not continuing to branch out or push the limits.
I just don't know how you're supposed to, because once I start thinking in terms of brand, I feel like it's backwards. I do the things that I think are good. I do the things that I think make sense for our listeners and for me. And then I'd let the chips fall. I don't know. I would never, a good example is the YouTube channel, right?
Yeah.
I almost never put any effort into the question, how can I get more listeners or viewers or subscribers? Like, I don't think in that way. I don't want to like reverse engineer it and go, well, I can get more if I bother them about subscribing all the time. Or, I think, how can I make the best video I can make? And then you get subscribers because you're making good videos.
Right.
So
I think it's a little bit of both, though. You need to be proactive while also doing the right things. But
yeah, you're definitely right. And I think I probably am not great at that other part. This next one I'm going to answer for you, Kenji, because Jared answered for you. He says, what's the best 2-color archetype in Iconic Masters? He says, I'm high on black-white build-arounds. Well, so is Kenji. And Jared says, thanks for all the awesome content you guys put out so regular. You bet, Jared. Thanks for the question. Alex says, humor. What do you do that you feel is different than the average player, and should we do that too?
Oh, what do I do differently than the average player? Just while I'm streaming, or
I know one thing you do. You just play better.
That's not always true. I play.
No, but but on average, it's definitely true.
Okay, maybe on average, but man, I tend to play way too quickly nowadays, especially on stream. Just even small mistakes of tapping the wrong land and not leaving something up, when I know better too. I think,
but it makes the stream more entertaining,
right? And that's one of the things why I play so quickly. I just want to keep the content flowing, but I think a lot of the time people actually just want to see methodical, good play, and that's definitely something I can improve on.
Okay,
so.
And they should do that too.
I definitely think so, right? If you just, I think, because I used to play chess when I was younger, and every move for chess is minutes long. Generally,
right.
You're thinking moves ahead, you're thinking steps ahead, and with Magic, I'm just kind of on autopilot. Tap these 3 lands, play this card. I'm just playing cards on curve now, and I'm not thinking necessarily, 3 turns in advance.
Yeah, no, that's true. But the thing about you is that your autopilot's very, very strong. Like, you have a super good intuition, for what the right play is. And yeah, sometimes you don't really fully think out and think, oh, this is the exception. But, you're able to process a lot of the information very, very quickly from having played for so long.
Yeah, for sure.
Shannon says, for both Kenji and Marshall, on the week with multiple GPs happening around the world, how do you pick which one you'd attend? If it's totally just for work, do you get to pick which one that you want to go to? So for me, I don't get to pick. I get assigned the one for work. So that's when I'm going to go do coverage. They tell me which one I go to.
Yeah, that's the same thing for me. When I'm doing coverage, they assign me. If I'm going to play in a tournament, it's almost always going to be limited in some variety, and I tend to just stay in the States. Although I would like to start going to more of the, outside the States, the foreign
you say
GPs.
that. You say that now. You say that now.
Well, I guess you've been on the block a few times, so.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, it is cool and stuff, especially if you can take a couple of days ahead or behind it so you can actually enjoy the location. But the travel's really tough.
Yeah.
Like, all the time zones add up, and you feel like when you're playing in the GP, you're just not yourself. Like, you're just not you're running at 75% of your normal mental capacity, and you just don't feel that good. And you're like, why am I, like, this is, and you have to stay on an airplane for, 10 hours. It starts to add up. Again, if you can add it with a trip, then I think it is worth it because you're getting like a cool life experience out of it as well. But just from Magic perspective, I think you're doing it right by staying closer to home.
Yeah.
Shannon also says, I'm planning to fly to either Japan or Hong Kong for a GP next year. So I'm wondering on the chances of meeting either of you there. Pretty low, honestly. Like, it's hard to get all the way over to any of the APAC GPs just because they're so far. And Kenji and I both live in the Seattle area. It's actually closest for us because we're on the West Coast, but still it ends up being for a Grand Prix. Like, the only time I've gone to Grand Prix in that area, either in Australia or in Japan, are when they were like ahead of another tournament. Like, for example, I went to Grand Prix Kyoto this year because it was a week ahead of the Pro Tour, which was also there.
That makes sense. So. Yeah. And I don't normally travel to those ones either. I just stay in the States. So not likely to see me over there.
All right. Harrison says, hey, Kenji, thanks for coming on the show. I'd be really curious to get your thoughts on being a full-time streamer and what it feels like to play 100 plus leagues of a given limited format. And I think, Harrison, you aimed a little low on 100 there. Kenji has that in like in a week. What's your favorite part of a format when streaming? And what do you do when a format gets tired, but you still have to play limited? So you kind of already answered the second part there. But yeah, so he wants to know, what are your thoughts on being a full-time streamer and what are your favorite parts of it?
Oh, it's crazy the doors that have been open and continue to open, just from, being a streamer that's gained some popularity over the years. It's wonderful. I get to play Magic all the time. I get to go to these unique events, whether it just be a random Grand Prix or things like the Community Cup. It's widened my experience, not just in the Magic world, but in life in general and business in general. I've really grown as a person, although I'm kind of getting a lot more jaded at this point, but it's really,
there's downsides to
oh
it
yeah,
too,
no,
for sure.
there's obviously going to be downsides with all things, but overall I think the net positive experience has just been amazing. And like Marshall says, as I continue to do the limited formats, just keep staying fresh, even if things get stale. You gotta try new experiences, and just know that Magic always produces more sets, more content every few months. So it's not like you're going to be doing that one thing for the entire year. It's going to keep rotating. You're going to keep seeing new things. It's just ever evolving, ever expanding.
And what's your favorite part of the cycle? Like, is it when the set's brand new, for example?
Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah, for sure. When a set first comes out, it's just, what can I do? How are we going to draft this? What are all these new cards do? What are these new mechanics? And, I get to experience that along with everybody who's watching. So it just doubles that experience.
Simon says, hello, Marshall, and welcome back to Kenji. I've gone back to his previous episodes. This is for you, by the way. And I've always been delighted to hear you talk limited. What do you guys think about Chaos Draft? My local game store is doing one for Christmas with all the sets from Cons through Ixalan. Any big picture ideas on draft strategy?
Yeah, so for Chaos Drafts, and I think I'm particularly good at Chaos Drafts just because I've been playing for so long, so I know all the cards in most of these sets. But in Chaos Draft, don't try to draft a go-to archetype.
It's so weird.
Any one of those particular sets. You just want to draft the good cards. And that's generally different from usual draft strategies where, okay, well, I want to, especially say instance Ixalan, I am red-white, I'm going to be dinosaurs. No, in Chaos Draft, there's just going to be so many different cards, so many varying sets from such an expansive time in Magic's history that you just got to take good cards and realize that it's going to be less synergy based and more power level based.
It's so weird because I agree 100%, and it's just not what I thought Chaos Draft would be when I did it. I thought I would have all these crazy overlapping combinations of +1/+1 counters, cares about, and it's just like, no. You just draft the really good cards, keep it straightforward.
Yep.
Let's see. William says, Kenji, Marshall and Luis's discussion about bluffing a few shows back got me thinking about the other side of that coin. How do you determine if someone is bluffing, or perhaps more importantly, when do you decide that given the current game state, it doesn't matter if they're bluffing or not?
I think I kind of touched upon this before, but sometimes you just can't play around those things. If somebody has it, and you are going to lose anyways, then what's the point of trying to play around it? You're just putting yourself even further behind, Say your opponent attacks with a 3/3 and you have 2/2/2s. There are a lot of instances where you can say, okay, well, I can afford to wait, right? I can just take this 3 damage. Other times, maybe you'd absolutely need to trade away with that 3/3. Maybe you need to push both of your 2/2s in front of that 3/3 and offer the trade and realize that if they have the trick, well, you're going to lose that game anyways.
Right.
So it's a lot about reading the board state. It's a lot about reading the position, and realizing when you can play around with your life total, because life is a resource, right? Everybody says that, and it's definitely true. You got to realize, okay, there are some things that you can afford to do, and there's some things that, well, if it happens, you can't really play around it anyways, and so you just have to let it happen if it does. Yeah,
one of the things that you mentioned earlier about chess, I think, is one that comes in a lot, which is thinking a few turns ahead. And, a basic skill is just to be able to say, if this board state trends the way that it's trending, like let's say both players play reasonable spells at their mana cost over the next couple of turns, am I ahead or behind? right? And that's a big indicator for, well, if it turns out I'm way behind or I'm dead, well, you need to act and you have to take on a lot more risk. Where if it's like, no, I'm totally fine, then you might be able to play around it.
Yeah.
Celso says, hey, Kenji, 2 quick questions. 1, when you see a new set, what are the hints that you look for first in order to have a good initial grasp of the limited environment? You just dive in,
so
right?
I just dive in. Yeah. So I used to be a person who would religiously check these previews every card by card, day by day, but I don't actually do that so much anymore. I tend to just wait until the set drops on Magic Online, which thankfully it does very, very quickly now after the full set is reviewed.
Yeah.
And I just jump in and try to try all of the new things in the next few days, instead of just nitpicking and looking through this preview cards and be like, okay, well, this obviously looks good. This looks good. This worked with this. No, I just jump in and go for it.
Next one. When are you going to give Brian Wong the rap battle rematch?
So the original time I gave Brian Wong the rap battle, the timing was off.
The controversial.
Oh, I definitely beat him. Let's not even go there. But like he had to play the beat on his phone or something. I don't even remember what it was. He had to play like the beat over his phone. And so when it sounded like I was on beat in my headphones, it was actually off beat when it was recording.
Yeah.
And so it sounded real bad. There was no syncopation there was no beat to my rap, and I think I got the one over on that one.
All right. So Kenji's waiting is the answer.
I'm waiting.
Michael says, what limited format are you most thankful for?
Ooh, limited format am I most thankful for? That's a good question.
Maybe the one that made you fall in love with limited, maybe just your favorite one.
I always say invasion block, but I don't.
It is a weird, different angle, right? Think about what you're thankful for.
Yeah, well, okay, so I took a break during Kamigawa block, and I came back right after that. So I guess whatever format was right after Kamigawa block, I don't know the timelines very well.
That, Time Spiral or something?
That might have been it then. Yeah, that might have I can just imagine if that draft format had not been, or if that experience of that format been very good, then maybe I wouldn't have continued to play Magic. So I'll go with that one.
Yeah, I like that answer. That's a good one. All right, one more question for you here, Kenji. This one comes from Kelvin, who says, do you have aspirations towards winning a Grand Prix or a Pro Tour caliber event, and do the responsibilities of streaming conflict with that?
I think the number one Magic goal I have is just top 8ing a GP. I'll play PTQs and whatnot just because it's convenient and it's on Magic Online, once every other Sunday or something like that. But more so than making the Pro Tour, which would be awesome, don't get me wrong, I just want to top 8 a Grand Prix. I think that's number one on my list. I think that's been the case ever since I, lost my very first win in. I think that's all I want to do. And, if you top 8 a GP, well, then you make the Pro Tour. So
you're not, it is not a goal for you to become like a regular on the Pro Tour. Like if you, let's just say that I said, here's gold, meaning that you're qualified for the Pro Tours, for the rest of the year. Would you go to all of them? Would you try to succeed? Would you try to get on a team and do the whole I'm a professional Magic player thing?
Oh, I would definitely try if I got to that position. Oh, yeah, I would definitely try, but that's not like the biggest of my goals right now. I just want to, see myself in a GP, make the top 8, and then anything after that basically is gravy. I think I enjoy streaming. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Like, this is a real, like you're saying, like, oh yeah, sure, I would just try, but like, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't. And that's a weird thing. No, I would not, because I need to work. Like.
Right.
Turns out being a Magic player is really tough. Like,
yes.
It takes a lot of time to be really good. And that means things like the podcast, things like my YouTube channel start to fade. And I don't get to build those out and do the things I need to do to make sure that they're up to where I want them to be, and I wouldn't be able to be in the booth anymore,
That's true.
And these are big deals.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, that's why it kind of works for me, because I'm going to be playing Magic anyways while I'm streaming. It is a lot more awkward if I'm on a team and, say, testing out decks on stream that, the team doesn't want to show off or anything like that.
Yeah, but, you couldn't do it at one of the top-level teams, for example. They would just say no.
Right, exactly.
Would you
I think
give
there's
up
some
streaming?
good overlap, but...
Would you give up full-time streaming to be a full-time Magic player? A professional?
Oh, no. I would not take that, no.
Okay, well, there's something you got to consider.
Too much.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, or maybe you could make it work, right? Maybe there is a way you could blend them together to make it work. But it's always an interesting question that us, full-time content producers have to face, because I would love. I mean, God, I want to play on the Pro Tour so bad, and I don't, and I would just like go all out. But like at the end of the day, it's just not a good career choice for me to do that.
I agree.
So,
I agree.
Plus, I love, like you said, you love streaming. I love doing the stuff I do. Like that's what I like it. I mean, I don't know. I like playing Magic a lot, but I think I like it better. Like I'd rather be a broadcaster than a Magic player. That's the bottom line.
Agreed.
So, all right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode of the show. Thank you so much to everybody who asked Kenji all these great questions. I really appreciate it. By the way, I looked and it was Ravnica.
What was?
Ravnica. Kamigawa and then Ravnica.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
Oh, I did enjoy it.
Yeah, and then Cold Snap came out, which is like whatever, and then it was Time Spiral after that. So,
gotcha. Nice.
Yeah, wow, Ravnica's a nice one. So that's Kenji's most thankful set, and it makes sense. Kenji, thanks so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate you coming in. I'm sure we'll have you back on again. Like I said, you're our number one, buddy. You're the all-timer. We love having you on the show. Where can people find you? Where can they find all of your content, your stuff, your stream, everything?
The streaming is probably the most consistent place you're going to find me. Monday through Friday, I'm streaming. Sometimes on Sunday when there's a PTQ online, but that's going to be at twitch.tv/Numot the Nummy. NUMOTTHENUMMY. Numot the Nummy.
I will have a link in the show notes for that, by the way.
Beautiful. You can also find a lot of new videos, ones that are non-stream specific, on my YouTube page, youtube.com/NumotTheNummy. And you can also find a lot more content, not just mine, but a lot more content on numotgaming.com.
Okay. I'll put links to all three of those things in the show notes. So if you want to check out some of Kenji's content, his stream, his videos, and his written stuff and all that, you can find it at those three places. Kenji, thanks so much for coming on, and we will see you soon. I want to remind you that the show's brought to you by channelfireball.com. If you're listening to this now, Friday, today, the 24th of November, go on to Channel Fireball. You're going to get 11% off everything for Black Friday. And they've got a bunch of good sales if you did happen to miss, leading up through the holidays and all that kind of stuff. And of course, all that awesome free content. I always mention it on the show, but it's free. They're not every site offers it for free. And and Channel Fireball has been bringing you top-notch content for free since like 2009. So a long time going for CFB, and I highly recommend checking out their site. If you want to find me, I'm on social media, Marshall_LR. Kenji's on Twitter at Numot the Nummy. You can find us there. Come say hi. We're always around. And that's going to do it for the show this week. Thanks so much for hanging out. Next week, broadcasting from Nice, France, and I think we might try to fit in the Unstable show in there. So we'll see. But at any rate, we'll be here, and we'll see you next week. Kenji, do you want to do Let's Stump Vargas?
Let's Stump Vargas, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Hold on a sec. Let's see here. No, we can't do those ones. Okay. You know what, Kenji? I'm going to put you to the test.
Uh-oh.
So Let's Stump Vargas, of course, is the game where I read you a card name from a set from the past, and you have to tell me what the card does. You don't get to look it up or see the artwork, okay?
Okay.
So this one comes from Eric, who I met at GPDC, and this is Invasion.
Oh, good. Easy game.
Yeah, maybe. So
easy.
No, here's the deal. You can't miss any. Like, I'm judging you based on you hitting every single card.
Okay.
Yeah, see, now he's gotten a little quiet.
All right,
let's go.
I got this.
We're into it. First card, Recover.
Recover. Black and 2, return target creature from your graveyard to your hand, draw a card.
Is it a sorcery or an instant?
Oh, sorry, sorcery.
You're right.
It's got a picture of Baron exhuming his daughter. She's got like red flowing brown or red hair.
You are absolutely correct. Wow, okay, that's pretty good. Sunscape Apprentice.
Sunscape Apprentice. That's a white and 1 defender creature. It's a 1/3.
Okay.
Sunscape is blue and green spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast.
That is wrong. Oh, wow. You already missed one. Oh,
what? Sunscape?
Sunscape Apprentice.
Sorry, Apprentice. Yes. Okay, that's the 1/1
okay,
for
you get one makeup if you get this exactly
all right,
correct.
Sorry. Sorry. Sunscape Apprentice is the 1/1 for 1. It's white.
Yes.
It is tap a blue, tap it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh shoot! Target creature gains. No. Put target creature you control on top of its owner's library.
Yes, that is right.
Okay. The green ability is green and tap.
Yeah.
Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn.
Oh, so close.
God damn it! Oh my god, I already failed.
It's +1/+1 until end of turn.
Shoot! Oh no!
Oh man, this is bad.
I was thinking the familiar when you said apprentice.
Okay,
Damn
that part's fine.
But that's from plane shift. Shoot.
Yeah, you've been forgiven for that, but the +2/+0 unforgivable. Kavu Scout.
Kavu Scout is red and 1 for. Oh no!
Let's Scott-Vargas is really, really hard.
God.
Luis rips through these, and I have no idea how he does it.
Kavu Scout is. I think it's a red and 1 for. I think it's a 1/1. Oh shit! Or it's like an 0/3 that gains power. Oh no, Marshall! I'm so bad at this.
Kavu Scout is 2 and a red for an 0/2 that gets +1/+0 for each basic land type.
Oh no!
You are now 1 for 3.
Oh no!
All right, this is an easy one. Harrow.
Okay, green 2 instant. As an additional cost, sacrifice a land, search your library for 2 basic land cards, and put them onto the battlefield.
That is correct. Cursed Flesh.
Cursed Flesh is black for an enchant creature. Enchanted creature gets -1/-1 and gains fear.
Yeah, that is correct. And you actually said that better than they did on the card, by the way. They spelled out all this stuff. Banalish Trapper.
Banalish Trapper is a white and 1 for a 1/2. You can pay a white and tap it. Tap target creature until. Oh yeah, it's tap target creature.
Does that remind you of anything?
Maybe the.
Blind
God,
It's a
Blind Mage. Oh god, I couldn't remember that name.
Tainted Well.
Tainted Well is a black and 2, I believe, for. Mm-hmm. Oh, is this an enchant land? Enchanted land is a swamp.
Yes, that is all true.
Oh god, and whenever enchanted land is tapped, its controller loses 2 life? I didn't realize there were more.
Yeah, you draw a card when it enters the battlefield.
Ah, okay.
All right. Next is Reviving Dose.
Reviving Dose is a white and 2 instant.
Yes, that's true.
You gain... Oh god, I know you draw a card.
You do. How much life do you gain?
It's not 6, it's 3 life. I'm going to say 3
That's
life.
right. That's right.
Okay.
Wow, good job. Crown of Flames.
Crown of Flames is a red enchant creature. Oh god, this one has a lot of abilities. You can fire breathe a creature.
Yes.
Crown of Flames. I think you can pay a red to return Crown of Flames to its owner's hand.
Yes, that is it. You did it.
Okay. All right.
Kavu Aggressor.
Kavu Aggressor is the red and 2, 3/2, can't block. Kicker, 4 colorless, +1/+1 counter.
Yes, everything you said is right. Nice work. There was so much text on that, I had to read it to make sure you're all right, last common. Tidal Visionary.
Oh, that's a nice one. Tidal Visionary. Oh, no, wait, this is the creature one. So it's a blue for a 1/1. Mm-hmm. You can tap Tidal Visionary to turn a creature into any color or combination of colors until end of turn.
Yeah, it just says color of your choice until end of turn. I mean, I'm giving that to you, obviously, but...
Oh, okay. So you can't.
You can't make
combination.
Multiples.
Yeah, it's just one color.
Canopy Surge.
Canopy Surge. It's a green and 1 sorcery.
Yes.
Okay. It's Canopy Surge deals 1 damage to each creature with flying and each player.
Yes.
And then it has Kicker.
Yes.
The Kicker is
numbers are important.
2.
Yes.
The Kicker is 2, and it turns into 4 damage to each creature with flying and each player.
You did it. Nice work. What is that a riff on? Hurricane?
Yeah, it's like a better Hurricane.
That's a card I'm thinking. Like green does damage. Anyway. Reviving
X.
Vapors.
Reviving Vapors. This is like blue, white 2.
Yes.
Reviving Vapor. I think it might be an enchantment. Fudge, it's a sorcery. Okay, Reviving Vapors. I know what. I can see the picture in my head. I just don't know what.
It's like a lady helping out another lady.
Yeah. Reviving Vapors. It's not exile target No, I don't remember what this one does.
So it's an instant. You were right about the cost. 2
Okay.
white, blue instant. Reveal the top 3 cards of your library and put one of them in your hand. You gain life equal to that card's converted mana cost. Put the others in your graveyard.
Gah.
What about Zanam Jin?
Zanam Jin. Okay.
Zanam. Yeah.
It's a Zanam. Oh God, what color? It's either blue or I think it's blue. No, wait, it could be white. Oh shoot. It's 5 colorless, and I'm gonna go with blue.
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's a 5/6 flyer.
Yes.
And
it's exactly Mahamoti Jin, except for it has downside.
So if blue is tied or has the most symbols on the battlefield, it gets -2/-2.
I'm giving that to you. Let me read this. I think it's just permanent. So it says it gets -2/-2 as long as blue is the most common color among all permanents.
On colors.
Yeah, but I'm giving that to you. Though. That was fine. By the way, that's just strictly worse Mahamoti Jin, and it's uncommon. Like what the hell?
It's only one blue. Not double blue.
Oh, you're right. Jin is for blue. No, you're totally right. Yeah. Well laid plans. I knew this day would come, said Urza, looking at the destruction of Kenji's Let Stump-Vargas. But you don't have to revel in it. He said to the listeners of the show who are loving it. Oh, this is gas.
I don't know this one.
All right, 2 and a blue enchantment.
Okay.
Prevent all damage that would be dealt to a creature by another creature if they share a color. Jeez. I just read that card. I have no idea what it does. So if I attack with my blue creature and you block with a blue creature, then the damage doesn't happen?
They just bounce off each other.
Oh my God, what a horrible card. All right, do you want to know your final count?
Yes, I've
1,
got like
2,
8
3,
out of
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You got correct.
Okay.
And since this is an old school booster, 5 incorrect.
Holy moly. 66%, Marshall.
In the set that you know the best.
Oh, no. The one that I love to draft the most.
Oh, yeah. That's
Difference.
That's true. And to be fair to Kenji, A, Let Stump-Vargas is very hard, and B, this set came out in the year 2000.
Invasion was 1990. Oh, no, Tempest was 99. Never mind.
Well, at least according to the bottom of the card, it says 2000. So this set's been out for a while. All right, Kenji. Thanks again, man. We'll see you.
Yeah.